We're here today with Alan Cox, who is the CEO of Core Media. Alan, thank you very much for giving us the time to chat to you today about your journey to becoming a great workplace. Firstly, could you tell me a little bit about Core Media?
Yeah, Core Media is a media agency group, and our role is to advise clients in relation to advertising, how to reach their target markets and their objectives through the best mix of media opportunities to do so. And once that's approved, then we buy that space on their behalf. Our turnover is about 163 million this year. That's 23% market share, and we have about 130 staff.
So times are tough in Ireland right now, and have been for quite a while. I'm just wondering, how have you managed to create a great place to work during these recessionary times?
Well, I think it's a recession is a very challenging time. I think it's the best time to actually work on the workplace culture, and I think that there's no wrong time or right time to do that. And I think the recession is a very good time for organisations to knuckle down and to reevaluate their approach to all kinds of things. We took the decision at the beginning of the recession to invest in three things. One was our people, one was research, and the other was the digital part of our business. And I'm happy to say that by actually investing in those three areas, we've seen our business grow throughout the recession. We've grown since the start of the recession by 25% organically, and including acquisition, about 46% growth. And our market share has grown now to 23%. So we've seen the fruits of making those decisions at the start of the recession and taking our own advice, because we're always advising clients the best time to invest is in a recession and the necessity of that. So we decided to take our own advice, and I'm glad we did.
And what form did that advice take?
The Great Place to Work programme was the pillar of our investment in people. And we got involved about 4 years ago, and we found that very quickly there was a passion for that within the organisation. We had been doing a lot of good work, I think, in relation to developing a good workplace culture, but we recognised after we got involved initially that there were some things we weren't doing as well as we thought we were doing. And we worked very hard on those particular points. Communication would have been one, where I felt that perhaps we were good communicators in the past. It was quite clear when we saw the first set of results that we were not as good at communicating internally as we thought we were. Also in terms of collaborating with our employees, again, that came up as an issue that we needed to address. And also in terms of sharing of profit with our employees. Those were three big issues that I felt we were underperforming in. So we set about addressing that through a series of programs.
In your business particularly, which is the creative world, innovation and collaboration are key things that you really want to drive. Here in your workplace, obviously you've put a lot of time and effort into the design and the look and the feel. Talk to me about the impact that has on creating a great place to work.
Stimulus is very important to creativity. Stimulus within the workplace, stimulus within how you go about your daily routine, and it makes you more creative if you're challenged in that sense. So we built that into the design of our premises. We decided about a year ago to upgrade all of our three premises to bring them to a standard where we felt people would really enjoy coming to work, they enjoy the facilities that we have, and also just enjoy the creativity of the workplace. And that's important not just in terms of the hard surfaces, but also in terms of the softer parts of what makes up a workplace. So we think that's hugely important, and I think already we have one of the organisations has been completed now in terms of its refurbishment, and already I've sensed a new energy within the organisation as a result of the changes we've made. And people like to congregate, in the area outside there, the cafe, maybe on a Friday evening. They're not in a rush to go home. They like to talk to each other. We have a few bottles of beer out there. People can enjoy those. And I think that's a lovely addition, and it's created more collaboration. People, talk more together, and all of that's hugely important.
And how would you actually describe the culture here at Core Media?
Well, our values are action, curiosity and togetherness. Those are our three values. And I think they sum up really what our business is about, action in terms of making sure that we do things for clients now and we do it well. curiosity in terms of finding out new ways of doing things or uncovering new knowledge. And togetherness is about us as a business and us as a group of people working together for each other. So that sums up, I think, the values of our business also feed directly into our culture. And the way that we make sure that happens is by linking people's personal goals each year to each of those values. So all of our employees and all of the directors and shareholders of the company all have goals linked directly to each of those values, so that it's not just on a piece of paper somewhere. We're hopefully living and breathing it every day.
And if a particular manager isn't actually behaving in the way that's consistent with the values of the organisation, how do you deal with that?
Well, we have a formal review process, and people are set a number of goals. And at the end of the year, they're scored against their achievement in relation to those goals. And I think that creates a debate then about whether that the person has actually, fulfilled the objectives that were set for them at the beginning of the year. And if there might have been reasons beyond their control that meant they couldn't reach those objectives, such as, perhaps it was a very busy period and we got new business presentations to put together. So we're very understanding of that. But I have to say that people are very passionate about, really setting goals that are achievable and also ones that they enjoy reaching for.
With regard to leadership, looking at the leadership forum and when you presented at that, many of the things that you were talking about painted a picture of somebody who was okay with vulnerability. Talk to me a little bit about that.
I think it's all about being open with people. One of the big changes that we made in our organisation about 3 years ago was the introduction of a proper team meeting where every member of all of our employees from all over the group come together once a month and we talk about what's going on in the business. And we introduced a system whereby people would ask questions anonymously. Before, we used to ask at the end of that meeting, has anybody got any questions? And nobody would ask any questions because they'd feel, maybe they were uncomfortable in that form asking a certain type of question. And also maybe people were afraid to ask the question they really wanted to ask. So we introduced letterboxes all over the group where people put questions in before the team meeting anonymously. And I will answer every single one of those questions at the team meeting. And I think that approach has been recognised by everybody in the group as a demonstration of openness and transparency in relation to how we want to run the business. And I think that's the right way to approach things, because that's how you engender trust. It's how you build proper communication and how you make sure that you get the message through to all of our employees that we're there to listen. Because communication is more about listening, actually, than it is about talking.
Earlier you mentioned the fact that you have profit share. Why would you say so few organisations in Ireland actually do profit share?
I don't know is the answer. All I can do is I can answer for ourselves. We understood that there was a feeling by our employees that they were not seeing a fair share of the profits of the organisation, and we knew we had to address that. We also knew that we had to be responsible to the business. So what we decided to do was we would link profit share to the targets for the business. So if the business made its profit target each year, that would mean that we would release a fund, and that fund would be the profit share fund. And it would then be up to the performance of each individual employee as to what percentage they got from that fund. And that's where the goals that I spoke to you about earlier come into play. So if people performed well against their goals, and also if they performed well in their daily duties, they would get either a 5% share of that based on their salary, or they would get a 10% share based on their salary. And we had a spectrum in between. So that's the way we decided to work it. It's not something that is going to be available every year because, who's to say whether we're going to reach our profit targets every year. So I think people recognise that the company is trying to be fair to everyone by when it is possible to share the profit, we will do so.
One of the things here at Core Media that you've mentioned is that you have this benefits tree which captures all the benefits you actually do. Well, why a tree, and what's that all about?
Well, actually, one of the things that I've been most proud of in relation to the whole Great Place to Work programme is the work that Catherine Fitzgibbon and Laura Mohan in particular have done in relation to putting together a Great Place to Work committee. And the Great Place to Work Committee is the principal way that we engage with the whole group of employees. So no directors sit on that committee, and the members of that committee engage with the rest of their colleagues in relation to things that they would like to see within the organisation, things that they would like to see changed, programmes that it would like to be put in place. We asked the Great Place to Work Committee, could they come up with an idea in relation to packaging our benefits? And they came up with the idea of the benefits tree, because we felt that we had a lot of benefits, but there was no focal point for them. So we thought that it would be a nice idea to in some way package them together. And so we spoke with the Great Place to Work Committee, and they enthusiastically embraced it and came back to us with the idea of the benefits tree.
In general, there's been a lowering of trust levels across Irish society. I'm wondering, is this an opportunity now for business leaders to really make the running on this? Should they really focus on building high trust workplaces right now?
Absolutely. There's no downside at all, and there's huge upside for everybody. It makes no sense to me for people to operate within a controlled environment where there's a feeling of a lack of trust. It doesn't benefit anybody. Certain things have to be kept confidential in any business, but there's so much information that can be shared, and so much you can do to engage with the people you work with and make sure that they feel part of the journey, because at the end of the day, it's down to our wonderful people. That's why we perform as a business, because we don't manufacture products. What we do is we provide advice to clients, and it's down to the wonderful people that we have that we have been successful.
In terms of your own philosophy and the like, has that been driven by somebody in your past who you've looked up to who really believes in trust?
Well, I think as an organisation, we always had a strong culture of trust. But where I drew the inspiration, to be honest, in relation to the great work that we've done, and particularly the great work that Catherine Fitzgibbon and Laura Moan have done in our HR department, has been from listening to the stories that I've heard from the Great Place to Work Institute. I found that hugely inspirational, actually. And I also draw huge inspiration from my colleagues. All the managers within the business really inspire me every day and contribute hugely to our overall direction as a company, both in terms of our strategy as a business and also with regard to our people. So that's really been a huge learning for me over the last 3 years.
It's probably critically important that you don't bring people into your organisation through your recruitment process who are inconsistent with your values. How do you make sure that that happens? Because
we have, I suppose, at this stage instilled the values so deeply within the organisation, and because we've linked everybody's performance to our values, I think it's very clear to everybody the type of person that we want to employ, and the values that we have are explored in our interview process with potential candidates. And it's very important that we get the right fit. It's not just about getting somebody who's brilliant at a particular job. They have to fit in with our culture, because if they don't, then you don't get that collaboration that's so important. So I'm just wondering,
bottom line benefits of being a great place to work. When you go, for example, to make a pitch, because this is a competitive environment that you're operating in, does it matter to potential clients that you're a great place to work?
It matters enormously. We've become even more passionate about our involvement in the programme with each passing year. And what's lovely to see is that the employees of the group are also very passionate about it, wanting us to do well, wanting us to improve our scores every year. And it's lovely to see that it's not just the management of the organisation being involved in this initiative, it's right throughout the organisation. So we've seen enormous benefits, and I think it has been hugely important to our success. How important and in what proportion, when I compare it to the other two key business decisions that we made, such as research and digital investment, I can't say. But what I do know is it's been a very important pillar and a huge contributor to our success.
So finally, if you have an organisational leader who's considering actually putting themselves under the microscope, they might be feeling vulnerable about that and joining this process. They might even believe they're opening a can of worms. What advice would you actually give them?
I would say that, a lot of people think they're good at communicating, and actually most people aren't. Sending an email to your staff telling them what's going on in the organisation is not communication. Standing up on your hind legs and speaking to them in a forum is not communication. Communication is more about listening and engaging with your employees than speaking to them. And I think that's the key piece of advice I would give is listen actively, listen properly, communicate based on what you're hearing, and engage with people and make them feel part of the business vision and part of the future.
Alan, thank you very much for your time and for your insights too about the workplace you've created here at Core Media. May I also wish you continued business success, and thanks for being part of Great Place to Work.